Broadcasting live, this is the Handicappers Report, brought to you by the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany, and CapitalOTBBet.com, the premier online wagering site in New York State. CapitalOTBBet.com. Sign up today.
Alongside Seth, Merrow, I am Anthony Mormino as we put a bow on 2022. I think safe to say the first normal year of racing in a couple years. Attendance at racetracks and seems to be normal. The stakes schedule seems to be where we kind of remember stakes races being. So that's certainly a good note underway at
the one notable, I would think, would be the one we used to visit, the Queen's Plate. Now the King's Plate seems to have found a spot a little later on the calendar.
Yeah, that's certainly noticeable in this area. Capital making 2 trips a year up to Woodbine for their 2 biggest days, but now being run in the Saratoga meet time of year. So a couple, I think I read Dave Grading on Twitter, Dylan Davis wins the year-round title. And I think, it's kind of obviously, it's been this way for, since Seth and I have been teenagers, once year-round racing started in New York. The big jocks, they're really not here for 4 full months of the year. But I think in Dylan's case, it's, really a feather or 2 in his cap, because we basically have seen him in the last probably 7 years, his entire career evolve. And it's tough sledding for Dylan for the 7 months when everybody's in-house. And he's made it work, and obviously comes from a racing family, his dad, etc. It's just truly, usually it's one that I kind of don't pay much attention. But when I saw Dave's, I think he had 220 wins in that neighborhood. I was like, that's pretty good. We run far fewer races in New York than we used to. I said, that's good for a young man to win the overall title.
No question about it. I heard that yesterday as well. And to wind up, the year title, the 2022 title in New York, you're right, that is a feather in his cap. And again, Dad, Robbie Davis, was a jockey, and now he's out there riding with his siblings, Jackie and Katie, and that's kind of fun to see 3 of them out there. His brother's a trainer as well. His dad now trains a little bit also. But, to wind up the year on top, a nice job. And it looks like, as far as the winter meet, Kendrick Carmouche, Dylan is in the mix with the meet that winds up today. But it looks like Kendrick, I think, was 3 or 4 ahead, but they both had a full slate coming into
tomorrow. Today starts the winter meet. And with the weather out there, you kind of agree. Very, the last couple of days have been unbelievably mild, which I'll take, for Christmas week, we'll call it. So, we'll see. But, big day today in racing. What I always think about today, and it's been a long time now, and many of our viewers probably don't even, but this used to be the day they ran the display at 2 1/4 miles. Now, when I started doing this for Capital, they had already dropped the display, and the long distance winter race was the Gallant Fox, and Roddy and Mary Valenti, they might have won it 4 times with Coyote Lakes. I think they won it at least 3 times. But the Gallant Fox used to be the prep for the display. And then one time, and I've heard Sabille mention this, and I think it was Georgie, a Hall of Fame jockey, he didn't count in his head too right. And Marshall, who was a very conservative caller, was like, please tell a jockey they have 1 more lap to go. So, but it used to be the display handicap at 2 1/4 miles on Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, excuse me. Then New Year's Day was always the Interborough. And I think the most famous edition was Ta Wee. She carried 140 pounds or something to win the Interborough. But display's been going a long time, but it was such a, what's the word, anachronism or something, that, but it was fun just to, it was mostly claiming horses that stepped up to stakes company. And
You don't see those crazy marathon races that much anymore, but a lot of tracks on the last day. I think Oaklawn, still think
the last race, right? The Happy Trails.
And Turf Paradise maybe did one for a while, but I brought it up because as you mentioned, it wouldn't happen every time one of those races was run, but it would happen occasionally where the first time through the stretch, one of the jockeys, you can see he's thinking, hey, 20-length lead, man, this is easy money.
The one I still can't
And then as they went around, he's pulling up around the turn, and the rest of the horses go by, and all of a sudden it's like, oh.
Now, Jeff Carl told me once that, like at Laurel, where Jeff raced a lot, when they used that second finish line for the 1 mile, he said, like, they would tell you when you were coming into the walking ring, they would tell you at the post, I said, and then they had this bullseye that you're supposed to see. But the guy that kills me to this day, because Georgie and the display, I mean, yes, you should know you're a professional, but it happens once a year, the race, okay. But the guy down in Florida who thought it was a turf sprint, it was just like a normal mile and 16th race. He thought it was a turf sprint. I'm like, that's ridiculous. I said, you got to know. Like, it just goes to show you he had no game plan for the race, like knowing what the race was. That guy killed me, but, interesting day. I tweeted this out. You might never see this again on a full race card. Baffert won all the dirt races on opening day.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah. They ran... They did it. They ran 11 on opening day at San Anita. They ran 6 turf races, and they alternated them perfectly. The turf races were all the odd numbers, and the dirt races were all the even. Baffert won 5. Baffert won all of the dirt races. Welcome back, Bob.
Yeah, really.
A maiden, a couple of stakes races, etc.
Also, it was a big day out there on Monday. Crowd of 41,000 plus. An opening day at Santa Anita is always big, but that's a big number. A record handle, and Taba. I have to sit down over the next couple of days and get my Eclipse ballot in. It comes in. It's due on Tuesday, I think the 3rd. But Taba threw his hat in the ring at least, and that was the one race that you had to wait for.
See, to me, it seems like, and now I know it's clear that Modern Games is going to get completely pushed out, but if they make fun of Modern Games, which I don't know how you do it, I'm like, well Taba's isn't anything glistening. I mean, Modern Games won the Breeders' Cup Mile, like one of the 3 greatest races at that distance in the world. I'm like, he beat older horses. He won the Woodbine Mile beating older horses, something that the other 2 never do. But I mean, I don't even think Modern Games is going to finish. It will finish 3rd now, but I'm like, I would vote for Modern Games. I just think the other 2, we said this before. I said every time they put up the resumes, I'm like, you realize they're all restricted races, and they're running against horses that are going to have no future. Not so sure they had a present, but somebody has to win these races. That doesn't mean you're outstanding. And I think by the end of next year, we're going to see some of those, But it's clearly going to be, because I can see the momentum for Taba building. But he's going to be the clear runner-up, and Modern Games going to finish 3rd.
Yeah, I think that's the way it's going to play out as well. But
again, how are you going to vote?
Nice. I'm tilting towards Epicenter, I think. But I'm going to go back and watch the races
now,
again.
Are you one that you're pretty transparent? Do you make it public?
I'm trying to think if
not that you would ever hide from it, but there are some that just won't make it public. I'm like,
I'm thinking that because I vote through the National Turf Writers and Broadcasters, and I kind of think they put theirs out there, do they? I mean, I know I have in the past.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to think.
I'm always amazed at the guys, and it's mostly guys.
They're
like, they won't release them. I'm like, so the trainer won't talk to you for 2 months. Like, well, so. And one other note, just on a personal note, because this to me is like, in the last 6 months, I am positive ROI. I'm sure I have never gone 6 months.
Well, what was it, the matron? That certainly helped.
That helped.
That was, and again, if folks
I mean,
American Apple, right? Wasn't that his name? $94.
97. No, what's funny is it's like, so we're on Christmas, and we host, and one of my brother-in-laws, who's a big sports fan, likes horse racing, big sports fan, he goes, my brother said, and he brought up the story. I said, yes. He goes, so, but yes, that really kind of made it easy. But I was doing my math because I was kind of rough my first month coming back. Had a rough first 4 shows or something. But then starting in July, because I just got nipped out at Saratoga because of a rough last week, but I've been, the last 2 weeks that we worked, the last 2 times we worked together, I was 0 for the card to the last race, and the one horse paid $22. That made it good that day. And then the last time we worked together, I think that was, minus 14. So the 17th, we paid $28. So that just about made it. So I'm sure that I've never gone 6 months. And so it's probably in the neighborhood of 60, 65 cards, 40 at Saratoga, and, a couple others. So
that's pretty good.
And I said
today's not going to make a difference, right?
No, I'm home.
Okay.
I'm home. Yes, good. No, I'm like when Dave Grenning tweeted out about Dylan. Is it Jose Lascano's chasing him? I think.
I know Dylan was far enough
Jose,
ahead.
Jose didn't have enough mounts, or there weren't enough races left in the year. But no, good call. But no, we're home. No,
Excellent.
I would not.
Excellent.
There's very few things I believe in jinxing. That would be one thing that I would believe I could jinx. That's it. So you ready? We have you have a beefy card. I have a good card. I think a fun card as we wrap up the fall meet at the Inner. Nice card. And you can see, Seth, taking the 10 days off where they have the horse racing population. They're not Kentucky Downs field size, but they're the type of field size that I think the average handicapper could live with if it was every day of the week.
Yeah.
They'd be grateful that this was the card every day.
Yeah. Opener today at Aqueduct, and again, Happy New Year to everybody.
Yes, be safe out there tonight.
That's key.
No silliness.
Definitely stay safe tonight as well. Oh, and coming up later on Racing Across America, kind of a Gulfstream-centric card. I'll have Ron Nicoletti on, and we'll take a look at some of the stakes action with Ron. And then Howard Kravitz, I had him on this summer with me up at Saratoga. He does the HHH podcast. It's kind of fun. Check it out on YouTube if you haven't seen it yet. But a couple nights ago, they had our colleague Brian Nadeau on and went over today's Pick 5 at Gulfstream.
I saw that.
I said to Howard, come on in and we'll talk a little Pick 5 at Gulfstream as well. So a little Gulfstream-centric Racing Across America today.
We were saying before we came on, and I'm not in that group, but and kudos to the industry and the people that love it. But the Pick 5 is clearly the daily double of the 1960s. I mean, it's people just love it, and I wish it worked for me.
Yeah,
the math makes sense, and
they jumped in yesterday with a nice carryover at Tampa, and those Pick 5 carryovers, they really go nuts. All right, the opener at Aqueduct today, state bred maiden specials, 2-year-olds. Tomorrow they're 3, but today they're still 2. They'll go 7 furlongs.
I was trying to think. In New York, I don't know what it is, but I would say the Pick 5 carryovers maybe fewer than 10. It's very rare in New York. It's kind of noteworthy when it doesn't get hit, and they go long stretches of it being hit. So it's probably fewer than that, but I'd like to know that number. 497 kicking off New Year's Eve. Remember, post time is at 12:20. As I looked at this race, I mean, it's probably fair to say the race goes through factually correct, the number 9 horse, so I think would be almost a gift at 5-2 for Rudy. I don't think you're going to receive this. This horse has hit the board in both career starts. The Beyer speed figures, the more recent one, supersedes the average Beyer speed figure to win this race. He's on the outside. I have him for second. So when I looked through the field, I was going to, Dr. Kraft interests me, the 6. But I went to a firster who could be awful here today or could really surprise him. Now, Jimmy Bond, having a good week. He owns the number 4. I'm going to go with Petrolo. But he's an offspring of Bellamy Road, debuting at 7. And what intrigued me was, back at Saratoga, this horse seemed to figure out racing. He had sharp workouts. Doesn't get to the races until New Year's Eve. You're like, now Jimmy's very conservative with his horses like this. So I'm kind of intrigued. And this horse, to me, could be an upset winner, run better than odds, or he could just be out there, as I have coined the term, practicing. But I wanted to take somebody over factually correct who's had 2 good chances, deserves to be the favorite, will be the betting favorite, is the horse to beat, number 9 with Jose Lescano in it, second time Rudy. And for third, a first that I thought about putting on top is Mike Maker's Candy. I doubt he was, well, I wonder if he was named after Mike. I don't know. An offspring of Twirling Candy with Kendrick Carmouche in the saddle. So 497 in the opener.
Yeah, your comments on the firster is the way I think a lot of, I love the 2-year-old races and look up the breeding, and I love to play the firsters, but you said it. You know about a furlong out whether, I'm in it today,
yes,
or it's practice today.
That's I
and
think
if
that's,
it's practice,
you're done.
Like,
You're done.
I took a shot on one.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the key. I mean, we've talked about how we look at races differently. The horse doesn't interest me at 4-1. He interests me at 12-1. Now, if he gets down bet to 8-9, I'm still kind of okay. If he's 27-1, and it sounds funny, and I know sometimes it's difficult to follow. My sister's looking at me like I have, but like a Todd Pletcher first or dead on the board is bad. An outsider dead on the board doesn't bother me because they're going to be dead on the board. So you have to kind of get a feel for it. So
I've said it before, the 2-year-old races, I am more concerned of the horse that's 5-1 and goes off 6-5. That flashes red lights.
Yeah.
The horse that's 8-1 and goes off at 18-1. Those are the kind that up at Saratoga, I'll double up my play if I like the horse. Second at Aqueduct, $16,000 conditional claimers, 6.5 furlongs.
786 for all those people that live in the Latham area. I believe that's the exchange. The latest one in there. I am Ginsu Warrior for Dylan Davis, the recently crowned year-round title. Consistently running at this level, hasn't found a sprint on a fast racetrack, and it's Orlando Noda. And, Orlando might be the poster child for that bar graph that I'm creating that shows how these 16 or 18 or 20% trainers are, you talk about up and down. I think I might call it the Orlando Noda angle because I can't think of anybody in New York who it's more pronounced than Orlando. I think Andy Sterling had a great line months ago. He's like, I don't want to be in front of the Orlando Noda train, because when he gets on those rolls, it's unbelievable. So I'm going to take this runner on top. You got to kind of parse through. This is probably when Formulator is great, and you just parse through the sprint races. You get rid of the turf races, and you get a cleaner look at Ginsu Warrior for second. On the outside, Matty's Marauder goes out for Dave Donk. Said, I don't know that I've ever seen this before. So he has 12 running lines, every single one of them the 2L. I mean, it's just remarkable because they find other spots. Now, the dollar denomination is the same in 11 of them, plus this one. So he's been stuck at this level, but he's competitive. He's hit the board in half of his races, basically, but 9 of them are in the place and show, which is where I have him for third. Number 6, Nicholas James, the other Orlando Noda runner with Kendrick Carmouche. So 7-8-6 in the second.
Mentioned Formulator, not that it's related, but it's another piece of technology. I saw the last few days. Trackus going the way to Dodo.
I didn't know if
very surprising.
You know how I think there's been no subject that I have pounded the shoe on the desk as much as timing. I saw that, and I'm just like, are you kidding me? And I'm going to say why that's my reaction, particularly for our audience. At Saratoga, on the turf, when the rails are up, you could go to the Naira.com site. They had the Trackist one. Trust me, they were rarely ever the same. And you could get a feel for which one was more correct. And it's not the one that you usually see the race replay. And now it's gone, and I'm like, we're now into the third decade of the 21st century, and we're going backward. I don't understand it. And I have to say, I know this is going to sound silly when a grown man says it, it's very upsetting. I mean, this can't be a small thing, but they treat it like...
And I think Grenig wrote the article about it. You know, track is going, and mentioned track is going in New York. Great to me.
Well, Trackist is done.
And the Chiclets. Yeah.
Trackist, the company, is done.
Yeah. And what happened, Equibase teamed up with another company doing something similar. And the Trackist folks said it just, well, economically, it didn't make sense for us anymore. So they're out. But reading the article, it sounds like the Equibase method is still a work in progress.
They can't get right. And I don't want to say it's like Trackist wasn't the panacea either.
No.
You know, I mean, but
I will say the addition of Trackist with the Chiclets was a great innovation for the game.
For the visual.
But the timing didn't, you're right, did not improve markedly necessarily.
And on the same thing, the things that drive me crazy is you can also tell, because you follow, you have a big job of the whole sport, is there is no traction for penny breakage. It is like living in a cave by itself. The bettors just have no chance for penny breakage and timing the races. They're basically saying you're on your own.
The funny thing with that I didn't think about until it started to happen is once Kentucky did it, every place else has to do it essentially. Because if you're at a simulcast outlet and you're playing Kentucky, you got to pay the penny breakage that Kentucky and
so pay the pool,
everybody else is doing it essentially.
Well, you're rewarded if you bet into the Kentucky races. But
what I'm saying is, if you're already doing it, you have the pennies there and everything.
Yeah.
Why aren't you doing it your track?
Been my argument since day one. Like, why would there not be a tidal wave that within 90 days everybody's on board? And it's the opposite. Horton hears a who. Yeah, you don't see an article.
And
you
Pat
don't hear.
Cummings, of course, is on top of that, and he has put out the numbers that have gotten back into the bettors' pockets, and it's like.
And here's the group that always talks about the churn being most important, and this aids the churn. Yeah. So you're saying the churn is the most important thing for your horse player. This is a direct asset to that churn that you say is the most important thing. Yet you can't hear a whimper. No, we can't time races, and that's it.
Third race at Aqueduct this afternoon, optional
very
claimer.
Nice race.
Non-winners of 2 other than 6.5 furlongs.
This, I think, a very nice race on the New Year's Eve card. And thinking about the last race, which I thought highly competitive. The first race, they might go to the favorite. How about this? I thought there was 4 or 5 horses here, absolutely live, so I took the non-favorite. 3, 5, 8, my selections in here, and Patty H gets my top pick. Tony Dutrow claimed this horse a couple of races back, has run at this level sprinting. This will be the 3rd start off of a long cycle, which is what I like. And this horse is an example of what I often see. Off the layoff, big performance, then whether it's true or not, it's a supposition I make, little muscle regression, now we move forward, whether it's the 3rd career start, 3rd start off of a layoff, and I find that you get helped with the odds more often than not off of that regression race. So that's 2 good things. I think the horse athletically is going to improve, running at the same level. So that's a sign, and I'm going to get a better price. Number 5, she's a little edgy. Makes the 1st start since May. Consistent runner. Going to be tough in here. And for 3rd, number 8, Union Lake. Makes the 1st start since the competitive Raven Run getting run off the board, but 3, 5, and 8. And I've talked about this during the summer, Seth, when we were working together. This layoff stuff, everybody's in the pool. It used to be Clement and Frankel, then Chad Brown, And it doesn't matter if they're stakes horses or anything. Almost everybody has the ability to bring these horses back and be competitive right off the bunch. We grew up in the era, Woody Stevens and those guys, 2 races to get in shape, and then boom. But nowadays, I told you, I gave up on the thing. It helped me immeasurably at Saratoga, and it just doesn't matter. I don't even think about it anymore, Seth. They could basically do away with the lines now, because how helpful it used to be 30 years ago doesn't matter now.
Yeah, no.
My opinion.
I agree. Fourth race, plain vanilla $50,000 claimer, 7 furlongs the distance.
491 in here for me, and Diamond Collector. When we all like to be, this goes out for Carlos Martin. After trying consecutive allowance races, drops in here for a tag. Now, this is it doesn't show up in this is a restricted one because it's not for 3-year-olds and up. So even though it's 50, it's kind of soft there. So it hasn't run for a tag. It's also first time tag for a sharp operator. For second, Laughter on the outside, number 9. Rob Atras got it going at this meet. Sends out this winner who recently won by a baker's dozen. And then Mom's got to run down inside, 9-5 on the morning line, the horse to beat, 491.
Race number 5, conditional claimer, 6.5 furlongs, again, the trip.
Yeah, we got the 2L16, second time on the card. 961, Bali Shade gets my top pick for Rudy, making the second start since the summer. Was running in turf races for the spring and summer, but has been dirting of late. The other 2L tag is 25. And I've talked about this before in New York, where we have the maiden claimers 40, maiden claimers 25. To me, there is a significant clear cut. So I believe we're getting serious class relief here. For second, Can't Beat Me, Bruce Brown's runner, just got beat a length most recently running at this level. And for third, the Rail, Brajol, making the first start since Saratoga. They're reporting first-time gelding for Orlando Noda, 9, 6, and 1.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, more Aqueduct, a little bit later on Gulfstream. Stay tuned.
Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
What if there was a way to become a better horse player? To have a better knowledge of the game? To be more successful? What if there were a way to take what you've learned, what you know, and make better decisions, better choices? In horse racing, knowledge is a powerful tool. Race results and replays, past performances and live streaming, wagering from all your digital devices. Capital OTB. Become a better horse player.
Welcome back to the Handicappers Report on this Saturday morning, the last Saturday, the last day of 2022. We move on, and don't forget, tomorrow again, alluded to it earlier, every horse becomes a year older technically tomorrow. So no more 2-year-old racing for, a couple of months at least.
The other thing I think about, and I don't want to get anybody in trouble here, didn't the big thing about this time of year be, does NYRA still put out a calendar?
I think they do.
That was always the biggest thing. Like they had, it was a NYRA calendar giveaway day, right?
Yeah,
the people at the track got it, and Capital would get some up here because people loved them.
Yeah,
but that was always the big thing this day, like the calendar giveaway.
Yeah.
They used to have, I got one time, they used to have, and I don't remember them ever saying in the ad, they had coupons. Now, the funny thing was, none of the coupons were for Saratoga because they didn't need to give anything away. You got T-shirts.
There are NYRA calendars on the way, I think.
Pictures are always beautiful.
Kentucky Downs does a nice one. Santa Anita does one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the guys that, if you don't have your yearly calendar, I'll tout you the Saratoga Special guys, the Clancy's and Tom Law. They put out a nice calendar.
Do they really?
Yeah. 6th race at
Is that
Aqueduct.
new?
No, they've been doing it pretty regularly for a while. And it's nice.
Let's take a look at that.
6th race at Aqueduct, state bred allowance, 6 furlongs the distance.
831. See if we can get Dylan Davis home on an outsider here. Charlie Baker, winner, 2 days ago? As we've gotten back to running. Royal Currency took a couple months off, came back and was very sharp, breaking the maiden in the 11th career start. And Seth, I think sometimes, what do you call it, the light bulb moment? I think if you did a study that this would prove out that yes, it may take a while to get through the maiden, but you have horses that get through the first level allowance, not the second one, but the first one, like in 1/4 the time. And you're going to get a price probably today on Royal Currency, who I'm expecting after a career best can follow it up with a good effort with NYRA's winning jockey, Dylan Davis. Can't Hurry Love, the 2, goes out for Christophe Clement. Speed of the race down inside. And for third, that's for third. Carbon is my second pick for Linda Rice, who clearly has it going on. 8-3-2 in the 6th.
7th race, optional claimer with the non-winners of 2, condition attached, a mile. The one-turn mile is the distance.
5-2-6, win it. Well, we certainly hope so for John Kimmel. Exits the 2-turn Discovery, the 3-year-old stakes race, gets back to 1 turn. Last time going 1 turn, going the mile here, won by daylight. Takes on this level for the first time. Did try stakes action, but tries the 2X for the first time since breaking the 1X. I Am the Law, second time starter for John Terranova. Raced very well going the 9, getting a victory in the 1X, cuts back. And for third, King of Dreams goes out this afternoon for the tag. 5-2-6.
Stakes action in race number 8. It is the Queens County. $150,000 up for grabs for the 3-year-olds and up, going 9 furlongs.
And this race, as I've said before, it used to be on Thanksgiving up through the 80s. And the other thing was last year, my stats only go back 40 years for the Queens County, but Forewarned paid about $90 last year. Owner, trainer, breeder, Uriah St. Louis. I don't know if that's the highest price winner of the Queens County, but $90 is usually pretty good to eliminate the rest. So we'll see this year. I doubt we'll have that big a price. 10, 5, 7. Dylan Davis, Jim Ryerson, Unbridled Bomber, my top pick in this year's edition of the Queens County. Trying to make it 3 in a row. Won back-to-back allowance races. Try stakes races, not for the first time, because he tried 3-year-old stakes races before. For second, Law Professor. Rob Atris's runner-up in the Woodward, off the board in the Dirt Mile. And for third, Thomas Shelby for David Jacobson, who has also found his sea legs since returning to the game, but 10, 5, 7.
Race number 9 this afternoon. We're looking at $25,000 claimers going a mile.
Boy, I tell you. So I don't have them on 398, as you can see. But number 6, Musical Heart for Rob Atris. 3-1 on the morning line. Been laid off since June of 21 in the Brooklyn. Now, I've said where the layoff lines don't matter to me, but to be 3-1 on the board, and David Aragona is very good at his job. Dust Devil gets my top pick for Jeremiah. I had a winner the other day. Claimed this horse for 25 for Orlando Noda. Had the voided claim. Now tries a mile at the claiming price for second. Number 9, it's mandatory. First off the claim for Eduardo Jones. This horse has raced very well. Now makes a huge jump up from the outside. And for third, Optic Way for Jose Camejo, who has certainly introduced himself to the New York crowd. So 3, 9, 8. And Musical Heart is just, he's yeah, I'm going to be interested in the price because I can
Yeah,
see
and
the bettors making following David's lead.
And it's one of those, though, that you know, the layoff and the class and whatnot just it's part of the puzzle. But this is a horse that was in the claiming ranks, was claimed a number of times going back to 2020. But then the last run was a nice run of stakes races, 2 races back. April of 2021 was a stakes winner, but they come back for the 25. That I didn't use the horse because
No,
that was just
right.
a little.
And in the summer, if you remember, especially in the first third of the meet, Brad Cox did it like 3 times, and it was 3 for 3. I mean, you're going to get the worst of it with the price while asking truly legitimate questions. So it's kind of fun. We'll see. I'll be interested to see his price, and I'll be very interested to see how he comes back to the races.
All right, one more break. We'll come back and take a look at Gulfstream. Stay tuned.
Birdstone is an outside front. They're coming down to the finish. Can Smarty Jones hold on? Here comes Birdstone. Birdstone surges past. Birdstone wins the Belmont Stakes. In front, but here comes High Chaparral. High Chaparral, the defending champ, to take it to Bob. These two arch rivals head to head with Joe Hart bearing down on them. It's going to be a 3-horse photo finish to the turn. Here's the wire. Photo finish.
Having trouble finding us? It's actually quite simple. Whether online or on your TV, it's never been easier to watch and wager on championship horse racing with Capital OTB. Simply log on to capitalotbbet.com. There you can watch our morning shows, live stream races, and wager on our state-of-the-art wagering platform. You can also watch from the comfort of your home on Spectrum Cable Channel 1250 or Fios Channel 467, and win more with Capital OTB.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Florida, Gulfstream Park, the opener of Capital B Claimer, in for 20, scheduled for a mile 16th on the turf.
6'9", 14-1, up with Grape Nuts Warrior on top. It's Chad Brown, Irod Ortiz. Third start back off kind of a late summer layoff. And it just seems to have a little bit of a numbers edge. At least the consistently is tossing numbers that are probably better than these. So those connections, those numbers, I'll tilt in that direction. Telephone Talker going out for Safi Joseph. Tyler Gaffleone on board. This one dropped down to this level last time and ran very well. And I should talk about the level also with Grape Nuts Warrior. That was racing in some New York bred allowance races and then some New York bred optional claimers. And so going into this open conditional claimer down at the Gulfstream, that to me is a potent move as well with Grape Nuts Warrior. But Telephone Talker moved to this level last time. And given the finish, maybe seemed to find the right level, although ran pretty good against a little bit better 3 starts back. But the race at this level last time, I think, indicates this group today will be right in the wheelhouse. And then we'll need a couple of scratches, but I didn't want to leave Exalt out. If we do get scratches and this horse pulls in from the AE list, I think Exalt becomes a player in here for Mike Maker with Luis Saez on board in the opener, 6'9", 14-1.
On to the second race, 2-year-olds, maiden special weights, racing 7.
265 and 8. Shesterkin, I'm guessing by Violence, a sire I like very much as producing win early types. This one worked a quick 20.4 before the Ocala sale. A couple of siblings were kind of win early. Brody's Star, a sibling, won in the second start. Another sibling was third, then second, then seventh, and won in the fourth career start. So I thought there was a little win early, top and bottom. Todd Pletcher obviously can have him ready. We'll go with number 2 on top. Kentucky Joker, by Practical Joke, a win early sire. There was a sibling called Gilda Marie that won in the third career start. Another sibling called let me move it if I can read my writing correctly, but second and fourth and one in the third career start. So I thought there was win early there. This one almost lived up to that win early sire in the debut, running a good second. So with the experience under the belt, win early breeding, Kentucky Joker, maybe the one to beat. And then Case for Jonathan Thomas. Paid a lot of money for this horse at the May sale. Worked 10 flat before that sale. Trainer can have him ready. Sire is okay with first-time starters, so another one that is a little bit interesting in debut. In the second at Gulfstream, 2, 6, 5, and 8.
Greatest Stakes action gets underway in race 3. Fillies and Mares in the Sugar Swirl.
This is one, and when I was handicapping this, I meant to look it up. I forgot the horse a couple of weeks ago, I want to say in New York, where I said, I want to go against the horse. I just don't think the rest of the field is that strong.
Can step up and perform.
And I think this is the same thing. Frank's Raquette, who tossed in a little bit of a clunk in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mares Sprint. The lone win this year was at Charlestown in a nice $250,000 stakes race. Ran second in this race as the favorite last year, so I wanted to take a stand against. I just didn't know if anybody else was good enough, even if Frank's Raquette. You know, obviously the Breeders' Cup race is not going to get it done, but pretty much any other race here probably has an edge on these. Now, Capelia tossed in a pretty good try last time, winning a stake at Churchill. If you're looking for an alternative, I certainly think that is one that is eligible. And Joyful Cadence, Tyler Gaffleone on board, also coming down from Kentucky, who ran right behind Capelia last time, is in the hunt far, far, far more often than not. So maybe there's a possible look for an upsetter as well. But as I say, I don't have a lot of confidence in Frank's Raquette. I just didn't see anybody else in the race that I thought was capable if Frank's Raquette gets anywhere close to what she normally runs. So in the third at Gulfstream, 4, 6, 1, and 5.
Yeah, I was just looking it up. Charlestown is less than 6 hours away from here. Oh. It's just inside the state line into West Virginia. That. Neither would I. I was expecting to see 10. I was like shocked at how me. That's another one to be on the list for this year. Fourth race, back to the turf. Claimers Capital B, 35,000, mile 16.
3, 9, 5, and 2, Classic Lady on top. Christophe Clement runner. Another one that's stepping out of some New York state-bred races most recently, has faced open company in the past, but I think at this class level, the Michael Dubb and Company, Christophe Clement runner with Tyler Gaffleone on board, could be dangerous. Passion Plus, 10-1 on the morning line. I think this horse, getting back to turf after trying the synthetic last time, I think this horse is much, much better than the 10-1 price. If you get that, if the morning line holds up, take an extra look at Passion Plus, because you go back to the turf races, and I think they compete very well with this group this afternoon. Nana Fanny, 15-1. It's Claudio Gonzalez, who's off to a nice little start at the championship meet. Overall, a high percentage guy. And a horse that maybe the numbers are a little light as compared to some of the best numbers in this group. But again, with these connections and a little bit of talent here, another one that at a price I think could be a fun one to play around with a little bit in this group. In the fourth at Gulfstream, 3, 9, 5, and 2.
On to race number 5. We have 2-year-olds, maiden special weights, on the dirt, racing a mile and a 16.
7, 8, 2, and 6. This is going to be an interesting race. Just to see what Expect More does. I'm going to be interested to see what Expect More goes off at. Number 7, Expect More, third in debut, but third in debut behind Arabian Night on the Breeders' Cup weekend. Arabian Night shipped into Keeneland and had a really impressive debut for Bob Baffert. So we'll see if this horse flatters that one by winning in the second career start. But again, I thought it was an okay debut behind what may be a monster. We will know. Also a little bit of trouble, so got off of back of the pack. We'll look for Expect More to get it done. Today, Zhang Frau, Jungfrau, the Bill Mott trainee. A couple of starts so far, a couple of pretty good starts. Improving numbers, start 1 to start 2. I think this one could be set up to run well in the third career start with some nice experience under the belt. And Baby Billy going out for Dean Reeves. A couple of starts at Churchill that were pretty good. Came down to Gulfstream last time and ran okay. The number went completely the wrong direction. But it wouldn't surprise me on the stretch out and with the Gulfstream race under the belt that this one moves forward a little bit this afternoon to get closer to what we saw in those first 2 starts. In the fifth at Gulfstream, 7, 8, 2, and 6.
On to the 6th, so we have fillies and mares in the listed Rampart Stakes.
7, 4, 2, and 1. Mary Quake Contrary on top. Hard to fault the record so far. 4 wins and a second in 5 career starts. That includes a stakes victory. I just going to be interested to see the morning. I don't think the morning line will hold. This is the second choice actually with Colorful Mischief on top. I'm going to be interested to see how they separate. I think Mary Quite Contrary will take some action. But again, Colorful Mischief, who I have right underneath, is a Todd Pletcher runner. Didn't show much in the Raven Run last time. The races just before that, though, make that a solid player in here. I'm going to be interested to see, as I say, where the odds shake out. And Pletcher, being Pletcher, may attract attention with Colorful Mischief. But to me, Mary Quite Contrary has a little bit of an edge. Allworthy in the third spot. Clunked the last time up at Woodbine running 9th, but Presque Isle in the Masters just prior to that ran an okay 3rd. Tends to run well on dirt, at least comparatively speaking to this bunch, so I think becomes a player in here as well, despite the, as I say, clunk last time on the synthetic at Woodbine. 6th at Gulfstream, 7, 4, 2, and 1.
7th race brings us filly and mares once again, going a mile on the turf, the Swanee River.
7, 3, 1, and 10. I'm going to put Stolen Holiday on top. I thought the race 2 back to Eatontown up at Monmouth was a very good performance last time. Keeneland in the Fall Harvest, an okay 4th. But I think moving down here to Gulfstream, looking at this group, looking what this horse did at Gulfstream on the turf last April, I think the Shug trainee is going to be a solid fit in with this group this afternoon. Baystorm in the 2nd spot comes in good form, albeit hasn't been seen since relatively early in September, so a little bit of time on the sidelines. But again, what we saw coming into that was very good. Now, those were sprints. This is a mile. I think the horse becomes maybe a little bit interesting in here, though, off of those sprints. And then in the 3rd spot, we'll go with Scottish Star, Todd Pletcher trainee that has run very well throughout the career. 6 in the money finishes in 7 career starts. That includes a nice win up at Saratoga 2 starts back and a close-up 2nd at Keeneland last time. But again, it's Pletcher, it's Luis Saez, horse that seldom misses the board, seldom misses the exacta, and may wind up, I'm just looking, morning line favorite, so I would expect this one to take plenty of action, and deservedly so in here. Lady Rockstar on the outside from Brendan Walsh could be intriguing as well with Irod Ortiz on board. I might have moved that horse up if it wasn't for the outside post position, however. In the 7th at Gulfstream, 7, 3, 1, and 10.
8th race, sprinters going 7. In the grade 3, Mr. Prospector, who, by the way, never won a graded stakes.
Oh, wow. So I have to go back and look at the...
Now, his whole career they had graded stakes, but I know there weren't as many for sprinters in those days. But as prodigious a stallion as he became, that would be unheard of today.
Yeah.
You almost have to win a grade 1, but Mr. Prospector.
No, there was a dearth of graded sprint stake. Even today there.
I'm trying to think who carries his line.
Yeah, I'd have to look at the roster.
I remember in '88, the 3 of them retired: a Fleet, 49er, and Gulch, and none of those 3 are the answer there. I don't know who carries the Mr. Prospector line.
Yeah, that's a good question. I have a 12, 8, 9, and 3. I put Seal Beach on top. Mike Maker, Luis Saez. Luis Saez jumped on board last time, won a nice allowance at Churchill. I think off of that race, the 8-1 looks really attractive in here. Does have to negotiate from the outside post position, but has the entire backstretch and Luis Saez to help get a good spot. So I'll tilt in that direction. Uncle Ernie comes in off a record of 2 wins in the last couple of starts. Now, they were at Parks and optional claimers. We'll see. But this horse has tried some stakes company in the past at Parks and done all right. Irod Ortiz hopping on board attracted my attention, however. And Dean delivers 15-1 on the morning line. I don't know, 6 exacta finishes in 8 starts this year, including some stakes company. I thought this horse was intriguing at a very nice price. Going to be interested to see how the price shakes out. Sibelius, the 3-1 morning line favorite. I have that one down in the 4 spot. I don't have any big arguments against. I thought the others were maybe just a little more interesting in here, though. The 8th at Churchill, 12, 8, 9, and 3.
Trying to find this out because it intrigues me. On to the 9th race on the turf at 9 furlongs, the Fort Lauderdale.
I don't know if you looked at this race, and
Not yet,
again, I'm going to be interested to see what my guests later have to say. I'm taking a shot against Colonel Liam. I have a 4, 7, 12, and 13. If the 13 doesn't get in, take a look at the 10. But Colonel Liam, I mean, he's 3 for 3 at Gulfstream, including the Pegasus turf back in January. But he won that race in January, then went over to Dubai and wound up 9th and hasn't been seen since. That was back in March. They tried to get the race. He was on the AE list for the race the other day, didn't make it in, and so they wind up here. You know, it's Todd Pletcher, as you say. These days, the layoffs, particularly with a horse like this, who you think could overcome layoffs very nicely, as he did in the Pegasus turf last year. I just thought there was enough there that I could take a little pop against, perhaps. So for me, I am going to take a look at number 4, Shadow Sphinx, 12-1 on the morning line. Lopez, Mike Maker, coming off a couple of nice little second-place finishes. I would think this horse will be heard from in the lane, gets a decent little post position to, save some ground and make that lane run. Maybe have a little more potency. City Man, the New York bred for Dean Reeves, who helped owner Dean Reeves have a really nice Saratoga with the win in the Forbidden Apple. Wound up second in the Bernard Baruch a little bit later in the meet, but subsequently went down to Aqueduct, Belmont at Aqueduct, and won a couple of state-bred stakes races. But I think this is a legit New York bred, legit in the manner of can step up against open company and make some noise. So I think City Man is interesting. And then Colonel Liam in the 3rd spot, who may make this idea look completely crazy. I would guess on the pick plays for a lot of people this afternoon, Colonel Liam will be a single. And again, he may just run away and hide from this bunch. As I say, I thought there was enough there with. They wanted the race the other day. They didn't get in. Off since Dubai. I took a slight stand against, but clearly he is the one to beat. 4, 7, 12, and 13. The 13 doesn't get in. Take a look at the 10.
He's all set. Curlin.
Oh, yeah.
But what's going to be interesting about Curlin, though, is because Curlin's success has been at a root of ground, that he is an atypical grandson of Mr. Prospector. So he'll have kind of like his own line because he'll have such a different profile. On to the 10th race, the Harlan's Holiday, and I'm not positive of this, but I think, was that Starlight Racing Jack Wolf's first big horse?
I'd have to look that up.
I think that was the first time those blue and yellow silks were big time prominent across the national stage.
Yeah,
I don't remember
I'd have to look that up.
Seeing those before, but the Harlan's Holiday.
I'm going to go 1, 4, 7, and 5. O'Connor on top. I've said it many times. I'm a little bit skeptical of these South American horses when they come up. I like to have them prove themselves because I think they can go either way. O'Connor came up and proved himself. They're talking, using this as a stepping stone to the Pegasus World Cup. Super Corinto, who this one beat 3 starts back and then was nipped by 2 starts back in Chile That one is also looking at the Pegasus World Cup, so face some legitimate company in South America. And as I say, came up here to Gulfstream and proved that belongs with these types. So I landed on O'Connor. Simplification. Used that one in the second spot. After the Fountain of Youth victory this year, in most every start that Simplification has, there was a little bit of buzz on this horse. Don't forget about this one. Look for and it didn't pan out after the Fountain of Youth. But I do think, the return to Gulfstream may prove interesting for Simplification. And just looking at the rest of the field, I wasn't sure where else to go. Skippy Longstocking becomes the other Saffy Joseph runner, as he has the 8-5 morning line favorite. O'Connor, Skippy Longstockings at 4-1, as they say, the other half of an uncoupled entry. And boy, that number in the West Virginia Derby says, if he fires something like that, it becomes interesting. Intrigued to see what Pioneer of Medina does, coming off a win last time at Churchill, and another one of those that early in the 3-year-old season had shown some promise to kind of be one to follow and didn't quite live up to that. Interesting field, interesting race, and we'll see if the South American horse can put a couple together. 1, 4, 7, and 5.
And wrapping up, optional claimers in for 1X, mile and 16th on the turf.
9, 11, 8, and 5. I'm going to take a little shot against the horse that's sure to be the favorite, Market Segmentation. The gaps in the career, 2 starts, one a year ago, one back in September, but it is Chad Brown and Kolarovich. Market Segmentation's the one to beat. But it's the gaps and at a mile and a 16th, the 11 post position. So I went with Mose on top for Belmont, coming out of a nice win off a little bit of a late summer, early fall layoff for Belmont. Broke the maiden in the 9th career start. Again, it may just be one that took some time to figure it out. Now it strings a couple together. We talked about that situation a little bit earlier, and Todd Pletcher has Insatiable, who I think is also an intriguing player in here. So for me, in the 11th and final, 9, 11, 8, and 5.
Well, that wraps up our New Year's Eve look at Gulfstream Park. Plenty of stakes action, graded stakes action down there. Of course, we're wrapping up the
It's technically
season.
Pegasus Preview Day.
Is that what they're calling
Yeah.
it? Okay. They have the different classes for their big January showdown, the Pegasus Cup. But, be safe out there, everybody. Seth wants to see you back here tomorrow morning on New Year's Day as everything changes. All the stats get reversed. All the thoroughbreds celebrate their universal holiday. And usually in New York, it used to be late March. It's earlier now. Oaklawn never does it. The 3-year-olds, the recently turned 3-year-olds, would get some protection against running against elders for a while. Oaklawn doesn't play that game. They got to take on olders tomorrow. But New York usually holds them up for a little while. It used to be longer, but universal holiday for New Year's Day tomorrow.
And then I said earlier, a couple of months, probably we're talking at least 3 or 4 months before we see some 2-year-olds show up. March, April, a couple of tracks.
Yeah, it's going to be a while. I don't know if anybody beats Keeneland, but most of us turn our eyes to Keeneland's opening day and Wesley Ward having a 2-year-old going 4.5 furlongs. That seems to be. I know for a couple years there, Santa Anita ran some 4.5 furlong ones as their meet got longer. But he stays. I go up next, racing across America.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.